Prawn here with some tips and tricks for PUBG that you might have missed. Some things that I've found that are pretty handy. Like, for example, if you've got yourself a nice costume that you've paid credits for and you want to be able to see it, you can actually disable the visual of your helmet in the settings here. So if you look down at the bottom in your inventory, you can actually turn your helmet on and off. You're still wearing that helmet and other people will see you wearing it, but for you, you get to see the visuals of your outfit, so the thing that you've purchased, which is a pretty nice touch. So it's just hiding the helmet from view, basically. Another really useful tip is if you're running around and you're not really sure whether a gun on the ground is better than the gun that you've got, if you press tab to do a loot in the area, you can actually hover over the weapon and it will show you how much damage it does, and you can see sort of comparison between rate of fire, damage per bullet, stability and things like that at a glance before you even pick a weapon up, and that way you can decide whether you want to swap your weapon that you've currently got for one that's on the ground. Obviously you have to take into account the attachments, which is why you've got the little boost on there as well, but it's worth looking at because this might help you in the heat of battle just pick something better. With vehicles, they're obviously important for getting around and getting to the next safe zone really quickly, but they make a lot of noise. One thing you can do is you can stealth up on people a little bit by turning the engine off. Press Z on PC, it'll cut the engine off and it will coast the vehicle along, which means that you can slowly glide up to locations and perhaps be a little bit sneakier on the run-in on a set of buildings, for example, where enemies might be. They might not notice quite so much, and if this can be handy in other ways, so you could just stop your vehicle, turn the engine off, and then be a bit more stealthy about things. It won't necessarily save you completely, but it has been fairly useful for me in a number of different situations, so it's worth knowing. Talking of vehicles, I'd say it's always important to have a mountain bike on you. If ever you see one, grab it and put it in your inventory. They take up a bit of space, and obviously that's going to replace things like bullets that might be important, but they're really useful for getting out of danger and getting towards a safe zone. If you find you haven't got a vehicle and you're stuck with a lot of running to do, the bike can really make a difference because it's pretty nifty. It's also fairly quiet, so that means that you can avoid letting everyone know that you're coming and therefore avoid being shot at quite so much potentially. You can stealth up on places a bit more easily. It's just much faster, so it's worth grabbing, and you'll find them all over the place as well. And then you can just get off it, fold it back up and put it back in your inventory really easily. If you're running about looting, as you will be in PUBG, you might wonder what's the best thing to grab. Pressing tab and opening up vicinity looting will help you work out what's on the ground nearby, and this can be really useful for finding things. But if you look, you'll see there's also a little yellow chevron above some things that are on the ground. It will show you, by looking at that, what's worth picking up in terms of this is relevant to your weapon, or this is an upgrade to what you have. So if you're wearing a level 1 helmet, for example, a level 2 helmet will have that little yellow marker above it. Ammo for your gun that you're currently using, or one that's on your person, will also have that little yellow marker above it, and other things like that. And it will help you find upgrades and grab things that you need quickly. Other things that aren't relevant to your weapon, let's say a choke for a shotgun when you're rocking SMGs and assault rifles, that won't be highlighted as suggested to be worth picking up. So this can help with really quick looting as you run around in the world. To revive friends in your squad that have died, you have to use the blue chip tower and their chips, which you can find on their inventory. And this is loud and difficult to do. One of the other things that you can do is to use a blue chip transmitter, which you can find about in the world. They're really small and hard to find, so watch out for them. And you can find them with vicinity looting sometimes when you're walking around. But what this does is it basically allows you to call in a friend using their chip from any location, so you can do it anywhere on the map, so it's worth having. I just killed this guy, and you can see he had a blue chip transmitter on him. He's just killed my friend, so I can now use that chip transmitter to call my friend back into the battle. So you go up to him, you grab his chip, and then you click on the blue chip transmitter, and then you've got a few seconds. It does make a noise, so if there's anybody nearby, they'll hear it, but that will then essentially deploy him back into the fight. But unfortunately, you do have to survive while he's waiting to come back in. And I got killed immediately, so it's not going to work there. But if you survive long enough, they should come back and fight with you. When you load into the game, you can see a mission list by hitting escape, and you'll notice there's a list here of all the different things that you need to do in order to get bonus points for the battle pass and for experience and leveling up. So if you just want to get a boost in those, it's worth hitting escape and having a look at that. You'll also see some listed on the map. So if you click M on the map and then have a look there on the left hand side, you'll be able to see the locations and challenges that you have to do in this game. By the way, this map that you're looking at here also has some bonus areas on Rondo where you can go and land. So look out for markers with 1, 2, and 3 on them where there's various different shops that you can land and then go and buy things with coins in the game as well. So that's pretty interesting. A handy tip for surviving a little bit longer in the storm is to watch out for the radio jammer pack. So this is essentially a level 2 backpack, so it's the same storage space as a level 2. But what it does is it will stop you from taking as much damage when you're in the blue storm. So you're in that area, basically you're limited for a little while on how much damage you'll take. Eventually you'll hear it run out. So if you listen out for a sound, you hear it sort of wind down, run out of power, and then it won't work anymore. And then you'll start to take damage in the normal way. It doesn't last a great deal of time, but it can be quite handy just to prevent you taking damage for some amount of time. You'll see here that it's been damaged now and it won't work, but it will eventually recover. So they're worth looking out for. Usually you'll see them like this, grey backpacks marked as level 2 essentially. So yes, a level 3 will give you more storage space, but this one will protect you from being damaged, which can be handy once you get near the end of the game and the circles are shrinking a lot faster and maybe you're out of the zone a bit more. So use that in combination with meds to survive longer. The zone's pushing, we're gonna get...
I'm knocked. It's a 5 tick. Don't stay in it. It's a massive tick.
Oh my god, we're running towards people. Yeah, I'm... Oh my god.
Me too.
That was miserable.
One of the useful settings you might have missed in PUBG is on the top right here. So if you head over to the settings menu and go in settings and then go into gameplay and then function, you'll find that you can actually choose the firing mode as the default for weapons that you find. For example, the default firing mode for assault rifles. Now, I actually prefer to have my assault rifles on single fire when I pick them up. I find them more accurate and I can tap out shots at long range. You might personally prefer it on full auto, but you can see that you can change these, so you don't actually have to manually change the weapon every time you pick it up, so you can actually choose what's what with that. And you can also see it'll auto-replace attachments, auto-equip attachments from inventory and other things, and you can also hide your helmet in here was the other option, and hide vest, so you can set it so you can just see your own skins, as I showed you earlier. So there are various different things in here that are worth having a look at and adjusting that can be really useful.